Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Yes, we do business for just about 30 minutes before we head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. We start from the global space, and it's oil prices this morning. It slipped on Wednesday. An estimate showing swelling U.S. crude inventories and expectations that tensions in the Middle East were easing following a tour of the region by mediators. We put our eyes on the number now. We see it's not so much, but at least we see that Brent sustains that below $80 price that it's had for about 3 days now. $77.11 a barrel after a drop 0.1%. WTI of the United States, $73.05, and that's down 0.2%. So U.S. crude oil stocks were seen rising last week by 347,000 barrels, according to American Petroleum Institute figures. And then gasoline and distillate stocks, however, fell by 1.043 million barrels and 2.247 million barrels. So, of course, more supply means that prices will drop. The United States, we know, is the world's biggest producer and consumer of oil, and growing inventories points to oversupply that could hinder prices. Official U.S. government inventory estimates are set to be released later on today, while U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken have wrapped up a trip to the Middle East intended to help broker a ceasefire agreement in Gaza. So while we continue Business Morning on other platforms, our DSTV viewers will now head to Abuja, where the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, is having a briefing. He does have a message for us, but for the other platforms on Channels Television, we'll continue with Business Morning. Now let's see what's happening with Naira and see how it did yesterday. Well, the NAFEX actually depreciated to start with. So we see a drop of 0.33% for NAFEX. It opened at 1,580 naira 46 kobo, but closed at 1,585 naira 61 kobo. A bigger drop we see for NAFEM. Would you say the negative trend, is it back again? Is it here to stay? 0.81%. We see that the Naira lost. It opened at 1,579 naira 22 kobo, but closed at 1,592 naira 6 kobo. It's expected that at least we will retain the 1,500, 1,600 level for now, I guess, pending when we'll have another intervention by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the good thing is the Central Bank is more empowered now. When we saw the numbers they shared yesterday on remittance from the diaspora, we saw the highest and an all-time high is what we saw there from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Is the highest ever, climbed by 130% year on year to 553 million within the period. And that's, of course, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. In a statement that they released yesterday, the financial market regulator says the figure represents the highest monthly total inflows on record. And they attribute this to ongoing effort to enhance forex liquidity and strengthen public confidence in the foreign exchange market. These measures include granting licenses to new IMTUs, as international money transfer operators, enabling them timely access to Naira liquidity, and implementing a willing buyer, willing seller model. And as we know, the latest of the effort has been the reintroduction of the Dutch auction system by the Central Bank. Closely related to that, the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission has announced its plans to license providers of virtual assets, including cryptocurrencies, to complement the growing adoption of cryptocurrencies in the country. Well, cryptocurrencies seems to be getting some attention now. We know just on Saturday, the FIRS boss had said that they are looking the way of regulating, at least capturing it into the fold. Now the Director General of SEC, Mr. Gama Emomotimi, says that the Commission intends to issue first licenses for digital service and tokenized assets this month. The Nigerian SECDG explains that this latest move, which is a reversal of its policy following earlier crackdowns on crypto entities, aims to provide a platform where crypto dealings will be transparent and devoid of currency manipulations. Nigeria was named the second biggest economy in terms of crypto adoption last year. So it seems the government cannot run away from this anymore. We'll have a conversation on this during Business Incorporated, so you don't want to miss the show at 1 p.m. We'll see what the crypto community thinks of this. They've been looking, even clamoring for regulation to capture them into the formal system, financial system of Nigeria, and allow them to do their businesses. Of course, it might cost taxes, but at least you know you are a legal entity operating in the country. So we'll discuss that at 1 p.m. During Business Incorporated. Now, still staying around that, let's keep our eyes now on what's happening in still the financial sector, but we expand that to say financial and professional services is what we'll be looking at, the state of that sector in 2023 as get some lessons from there. If we could have those slides now, the Nigerian banking subsector for 2023. This is how it is captured or compiled. This report is compiled by Enterprise NGR. Well, of course, we'll talk to them very soon. Well, first of all, let's see what they shared with us. Let's start with the banking sector for 2023. They saw an increase. I think the word or summary of the report says that sector, that's the financial services sector, was resilient in spite of everything that we saw in 2023. So Enterprise NGL says that in 2023, banking accounted for 46% of GDP. That shows 28.8% surge in output at 3.5 trillion naira. That's what we had. That's for 2023. Let's look at insurance next and see what they did. There you have it. So insurance GDP also went up last year, 0.4%. On the exchange, we keep seeing the numbers here. Every time we do a review of the market numbers at the NGX, we saw insurance. Since last year, they started getting some attention in the midst of the boom. And even sometimes when the major stocks seem to be, well, profit-taking seems to be the theme, we've seen insurance surge and sometimes. So last year, they increased, their index increased by almost 85% growth, and they also gave employment. I guess one of the things that also brought attention to that, remember, I think 2 years ago, there was a review of some of those insurance premium, especially the one that people cannot escape, the third party for vehicles. I guess that also contributed to that. Now, let's look at the next one, and that will be capital markets. Okay, this is sustainable finance. Very interesting one here. We see it getting more attention, sustainable finance. And last year, we saw that there were 2 sustainable projects approved by the AFDB. We also have, I think before this, we do have a significant increase of about 844.5 trillion or billion when it comes to sustainable finance. There you have it. So Nigeria's green bond stock last year, 47.8 billion for the green bond. Of this, the federal government has 15 billion, while corporates, that's from the private sector, had 32.8 billion. And of course, this is talking about sustainable finance, green projects that should contribute to sustainable development in the country. And so then we also had the capital market. I think we celebrated the market a whole lot last year following that real big boom. Even to the beginning of this year, we saw the capital market that the all share experienced a remarkable 45.9% increase. We even hit and surpassed the 100,000 level, even though we seem far away from that by now. And then with this, a significant upstream reaching a staggering 3.58 trillion naira, reflecting 53.95. Let's drill more on this. And more importantly, what do we see by the end of this year? Especially because those twin reforms that have changed conversations in Nigeria are still here, talking about the removal of fuel subsidy or not. At this stage, we don't know how to capture that. And of course, the unification of the rates in the market. And we're going to be having this discussion now with the Chief Executive Officer of Enterprise NG, those who put this together. We have Ms. Obi Ibekwe joining us in the studio. this morning, Ms. Ibekwe. Good morning.
Morning.
And thank you for your time. So I see that you have your eyes on, financial and professional services.
Absolutely.
And one would have thought, the major revenue comes from oil. Why did you choose this for your report? Why did you choose this sector for your report?
Thank you, Ini. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you.
Enterprise NGR is a member-led, a member-funded organization that is focused on advocating for the financial and professional services sector. And we're unique in the sense that we focus on all the subsectors of the financial and professional services sector with a view to positioning Nigeria as the premier financial center in Africa. All those sectors are required to be doing as well as our banking sector for us to achieve that vision. And that informs the format of our report that reviews performance in all the subsectors, as well as looking at the challenges in the sector and making recommendations. And another unique thing about that report is that it's contribution from operators who are members of Enterprise NGR. So we're getting, the issues firsthand from the operators that are actually experiencing them, and also what they think, industry perspective, as to the solutions or recommendations that they would like to see in place.
So when I went through your report, I saw the word resilience very dominant. Operators in the sector were able to thrive in spite of, all of the challenges that they saw in 2023. And those challenges are still here in 2020, if not even more, because now you have the 70% windfall tax, which is going to be another, major element on the plate of operators, especially for the banks. You have the recap. We've seen some tier 1 banks head to the market and are out. A couple of reports show, they've done very well, even though I don't know why they had to extend, But so when we look at that, and look at the services, what can we expect in 2024? We're already far gone in the year. We're getting to the end of August. What can we expect by the end of this year, their performance, in the midst of all that they're having to face now?
No doubt, it has been a very challenging operating environment, given the macroeconomic headwinds, I would say, inflation, the liberalization of the Naira exchange rate, increasing production costs, So yes, but that notwithstanding, we believe that the policy reforms are in the right direction. And we also believe that the dislocation and the challenge that we're having in the industry right now is temporary. Ultimately, when we come through this phase, we will start to begin to see the gains from these policies. Already we see inflation coming down. We hope that trend holds, and we do think that it will. And then the exchange rate we expect will start to moderate as supply increases. And, a lot of efforts are in place to do that. And we see the diaspora, remittances, these are all sources of FX that will help to moderate the exchange rate. I believe the World Bank is forecasting that at some point it would stabilize at 1,200, 1,400. We're not sure.
It seems far from that now.
Exactly.
We're struggling 1,006.
But it's a supply issue. Once we get that supply end right, I believe that things will stabilize. We may never get to 410 or 500. Those days are probably gone, but we'll get to a reasonable rate that businesses and people can live with.
Yeah, because when we saw the results, a lot of companies have released their result, their performance, especially for the first half, first and second quarter, and we see a whole lot of issues around the FX causing losses. So one can only hope that, with a bit of certainty, especially with the new reintroduction of the Dutch auction system that from the central bank, perhaps some people have been asking if they can go beyond the banks, to BDCs, to, companies, especially the big ones who are really in need. Perhaps that could bring that 1,002 that was forecast, because as of now, it seems difficult to head back to that 1,002 level.
Well, yes. I think the manufacturing sector, FMCG companies have been hard hit by, the floating of the exchange rate, especially when a lot of their inputs are imported. Okay, so yes, but again, the issue and the area of focus, and I believe government is, the CBN is working very assiduously in this regard, is to increase the supply of FX such that we get to a stable. I think what people are looking for is a stable exchange rate that they can plan with. The volatility now is a problem because it's changing by the day and impacting, across board.
So how do you see the banks getting through with this 70% proposed 70% windfall at the end of this year? I don't know. You should be hearing of some background conversation before it gets to us.
Exactly.
Because I know we've had a couple of conversations about that, and I think when they said 50%, the bank operators and stakeholders were like, okay, we can deal with this. But when it went up to 70%, it's a challenge, for them.
We're engaging on this, and the windfall tax, one can understand the temptation for it, but we should also be very careful and cautious. There are several voices that we've heard. Some bank CEOs have come out in support of the windfall tax. The professional services have been very cautionary. They've cautioned against it because it's, retroactive in nature, and we need to be careful about the precedent that we create. But so there's yet to be a full landing on this windfall tax.
Can the banks survive it?
Issue is this something that, because the windfall that happened was because of the translation, okay? But it's not something that will be repeating, annually. So can they survive it? I believe the banks can survive it if it comes to be, but, probably with some challenge, because we're talking about something that's almost, in a sense, notional. And I say that carefully.
I noticed you say it carefully. So let's look at the insurance now. We've seen interest, renewed interest around insurance. We saw that last year. I think your report did say that it's because of the, increase in premium and all of that. But even this year, it's been kind of sustained. Long before now, you wouldn't even see insurance company in top trades, or gainers, but they seem to be there now. It's an active counter now. How do we explain that?
And it's something that we're very, very excited about, because as from the point of view of Enterprise NGR, we want the other sectors developing and doing as well as our banking sector. Insurance in most other jurisdictions are even bigger than banks. But it's here that, we're still, it's still growing. And we're very happy to see the growth and development in the insurance sector, for instance. And that is being driven by, one is the, you mentioned it earlier, the increase in insurance rates mandated by, government, and also the mandatory insurance policies. So that's good and is creating the short-term growth. But we also believe that the insurance industry should also invest in technology and also focus on micro insurance products to start to drive organic growth as well. There's a lot of opportunity for growth in microinsurance and digital products to access the underserved regions. So yes, we're very excited about what's happening in insurance.
Yeah, and also the green, the sustainable finance. Attention moving there, but I don't know if we can say it's fast enough or it's just a matter of necessity. Does it look intentional?
Sustainable finance is something that we, as a country, we need to key into very, very quickly. Globally, there's a lot of attention on sustainability, and there's a lot of funding, in that space. For us to key in, we need to, public and private sector need to work together to come up with more sustainable themed projects, to attract financing and access this global financing, and also ESG themed products as well. It's a space that we need to be proactive about. Although right now it's something that we're very focused on our fossil fuel, that is the main source of our revenue, etc. But in our view at Enterprise NGI, and that's why we actually have a segment in our report on sustainable finance. We need to start positioning now, to access that funding. I know that we have the climate transition plan, etc. Most of it is on paper. We need to start focusing on implementation and making sure that we come up with these projects and key into the trends that are happening globally. Because of this net zero goal that most countries have, keyed into, there's a lot of activity in that sector that we should be part of.
So, assuming we're having this conversation, we hope to have it earlier next year.
Absolutely.
God keeping us. What do you see? What do you think will be on the screen at this time? I capture your 2023 report as resilience. You saw a lot of. What do you see?
I see, again, that resilience continuing, because, again, this year has been very challenging for the sector. But given the pivotal role that this sector plays in driving economic development, we believe that is a sector that government should pay attention to, its development, etc. And what I see in the sector is a lot of innovation. Now we have the domestic dollar bonds that are happening. I know that Lagos State is working on positioning Lagos as an international financial center, again, which will give us a positive visibility as well as the right environment to attract foreign investment as well. So there are a lot of new things happening in the sector, and I think the sector will continue to show growth and positive performance in spite of the macroeconomic environment.
So we'll look forward
but that will moderate over time, we believe.
So we look forward to more exciting reports from this year, because I think we have more exciting happenings, the win forecast, the recap.
Exactly.
And then we still have...
And even the recap, I think the recap is brilliant. And the impact will not only be on the banking sector, we're going to see a lot of activity in the capital markets where they're raising these funds, etc. So it's going to percolate, and we're very, very hopeful that the performance will be good.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bekwe, for your time this morning. And we'll look forward to a renewed or new report.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
For 2024.
Thank you.
All right, talking about sustainable finance there, we heard Mrs. Bekwe talking about, some projects that are green. It seems that the Rural Electrification Agency heard that, and so they went to Edo State, and they are starting up renewable energy, electricity for some people there. Let's listen to that.
Oloyon community, an agrarian community of about 3,500 residents in Ovia Southwest local government area of Edo State, is said to have been bereft of electricity for decades. The federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, has now remedied this with the provision of a 100 kilowatt solar hybrid mini-grid housed within the community. A representative of the state government joins the agency in the commissioning of the project.
We officially commissioned the 100 kilowatts peak Oloyon hybrid project.
After a brief tour of the facility, some of the stakeholders highlight the importance of the project.
What kind of battery?
This lithium-ion battery. Yeah.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed agenda is to focus on Nigerians that have been long forgotten, and that's why we are here.
Before the energy, we don't have a wedding people here, but now we have the weather who are using the solar system. We have the furniture who are using it to do their work.
One other fresh beneficiary of the federal government's 100 kilowatt solar hybrid mini-grid is Sule Camp in Ovia North-East local government area of the state, another community that has been without power for about 30 years.
I commissioned this project to the glory of God.
If you take care of it, you don't vandalize it, they no steal them, you put security there. And you are able to recharge, and they pay small, they use that money to make sure that this solar power is there for you. Do you pledge that you will do that?
Yes. Hello, President.
We thank our president. We thank governor. We thank our chairman. We thank everybody.
According to the Rural Electrification Agency, sustainability of the project is ensured through the Renewable Energy Users Cooperative Society, comprising members of the benefiting communities who are to be trained on technicalities, govern the project, and also act as first responders responsible for passing on.
Well, congratulations to the people of Ovia North right there in Edo State. And just a little bit of market numbers yesterday. The market closed in the green. Well, thank God. 0.12%, still far away from the 97,000. Now 54.4. The market gained 63 billion naira at the close of trade. Banking was in the green, and consumer goods down. Industrial unchanged after that dip for the day before. Insurance had profit taking this time around. Oil and gas had a recovery. And Jais Bank, Sterling Bank, and International Breweries were the top trades. We'll give you fresh numbers at 1 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Do join myself and Will Ibong. We'll take you around the world of business in 55 minutes. And don't forget, we have that crypto conversation also during Business Incorporated. So let's head back to the Sunrise Daily Studio.